Stardom Dream Queendom 2025 is a show that happened on December 29, 2025, and we are going to review it. It's a show that I enjoyed. I thought it was overall a pretty good show, even if somehow I felt it kind of underdelivered. But we'll get into details as we go along. But you know, it's just, I guess I had very, very high expectations for the card, and the matches didn't quite hit the levels I figured they would. But it's a good show nonetheless. I don't want to give the impression that I'm just like that I'm being a miserable human being right now. The show was pretty good. We have to make that clear. You know, I've been watching Stardom. Would I say on and off? I guess that's how you'd put it, right? Because I don't watch every single Stardom show, but the big shows, you know, shows that attract me, that get me excited, those I'll tune in. Those I'll jump in and watch. But you know, I'd be remiss to say that I don't miss a single show. That's not true. But I have been present, I guess, throughout the year, watching and enjoying the incredible 2025 that World Wondering Stardom has had. Like obviously, like the best year that the company has ever had, under the watchful glare of their top champion, Saya Kamitani. And of course, well, I'd say getting rid of the Hat Man wasn't a bad idea either. Lots of things opened up for Stardom. I know it's not something that happened exclusively this year, but it really did take shape this year. It really did come together in multiple ways, and especially the rise to superstardom of Saya Kamitani, who is right now in the year. In the era, I should say, that we live in regarding pro wrestling, is one of these very, very rare individuals that you can absolutely point to and say that person is a draw. You know, multiple companies, and this I think is particularly true in North America. Most wrestling promotions are like ensemble casts now. You can't really it's no longer a question of who's at the top because of their drawing power. It's becoming less and less a question of that. It's more like I use the term, I'll use it again, an ensemble cast. You know, like when you watch a show that is supported by all of its actors, all of its players, not just the main protagonists and their top, you know, stories, right? The things that really push everything along. You know, I love to use the Lost example. You know, the TV show Lost, I love to use that example, even though Lost is like, I feel like it's 20 years old at this point, and it probably is. And if that is the case, I'm extremely sad, and it's dating me horribly. But none, like, that's a good example of an ensemble cast show. But you know, circling back to pro wrestling here, you know, Saya has been someone who you can 100% point to as someone who has legitimate interest from among fans. They want to see her. They want to pay money to see her. She was an incredible bet that they took that extremely paid off. Like I can't put this over enough. You know, it's always the same thing that I talk about when I speak of Saya Kamitani, is how much of a vanilla, I guess, nondescript pro wrestler she was before the heel turn. Like, she wasn't a bad pro wrestler by any sense of the imagination. She was just very, you know, there. You know, it's like, oh yeah, Saya Kamitani, not a bad little wrestler, but, you know, completely uninteresting. And I don't know how planned it was. I don't know. I don't know if the Stardom booking committee, President Okada or whoever, I don't know who decided to do the heel turn. Maybe they just wanted to freshen her up, but I don't know if they expected that she would hit as hard as she did in regards to fans. And here's the thing, is that the smart thing that Stardom did was get behind this groundswell of support, this excitement, this bubbling excitement, because you know there are promotions out there right now who would have sat on it and be like, no, okay, let's give her a secondary title. We've got a plan set up. We got to stick to this plan, right? They didn't do that. Whatever plans they had, they tore it up and they went with something else, which is what any sensible wrestling promoter should do. Look, we saw the same thing in Pro Wrestling Noah with Ozawa. Pushing young talent that has a connection with the audience, that can go, of course. That's always the big plus there. But pushing young, exciting talent that has a connection with the audience is a flavor of success for any wrestling promotion in the history of wrestling. Quite honestly, the more you hang on to the old guard, the ultimately the less interesting your promotion begins, and you might be passing by some truly excellent talents. This thing where pro wrestlers are active, well into their 30s and into their 40s. That's happening these days, right? Because the longevity of a pro wrestler's career has never been this extended in the history of the sport. This is new to have so many guys up there in age, and gals, but mostly guys, to be honest, right? I think there's another standard for women, but that's a conversation for another time. But to have these guys late into their 30s and well into their 40s, still being at the top of the card, still doing top guy stuff, still being world champions and whatnot, guys that we've seen for years and years and years and years, that's a relatively new thing, right? And I don't necessarily think that it's the best approach to create a sustainable wrestling promotion and keep it alive moving forward. You need the new talent, and you need to get behind the new talent when the new talent is exciting and fresh. And that's just how it goes. Back in the day, you'd cycle out of these guys, I don't want to say fairly quickly, but fairly regularly, to bring in hot new guys, and that can be clipped any other way, but you get my point. But anyway, I got off track. Of course I got off track. We're talking about Stardom, and here I am talking about, how booking should work. But look, I also understand that sensibilities have changed, and, people like to, they like their stars, and there's more longevity in pro wrestling than there ever has been. And overall, that is a good thing. It's a good thing that people can, pro wrestlers can make like long-term careers, as opposed to coming around the age of 35 and then hanging up their boots because they're finished, because physically they're shot, because for all of the multiple reasons that are very, very that make pro wrestling a little nefarious. But we should continue to focus on Stardom. That's what I'm trying to say. We should continue to focus on Stardom. And look, I mean, that's it. It's like Saya Kamatani, this was her year. And they decided, they being Stardom, throughout the year, they decided then to make this the year of hate. I'm not being, the promotion, right? Not like actual hate, but the stable is what I'm trying to say. They capitalized on that to create this sentiment that throughout the year, the villains are on top, the bad guys are running the show, right? And I think it's a good idea to use, I guess, the strength that Kamatani has as far as her presentation and her aura and her popularity, to let that trickle down and use it to make the old invasion style type of angle, where there's just one unit, there's one stable that is just overwhelmingly strong and has all the momentum, and hoping going into Dream Queendom that that the baby faces will be able to overcome, that there might be some glimmers of hope. Didn't quite turn out that way as far as that little bit of storytelling went, but yeah, like this was absolutely definitely a year where everyone's all of the baby faces just don't know how to handle the hate group, right? It sounds really weird to say that, but to handle hate, the Cosmic Angels, right? They're in a crisis ever since Tom Nakano was retired. They've been in a crisis to try and get the upper hand, and they just can't. They weren't able to do it. And the thing is that hate, in all of their victories on Queendom, didn't do it out of snap roll-ups or cheating and massive interference, like it is also part of their calling card. They won strong, definitive matches. They had they punctuated all of their victories with extremely strong wins, leaving the good guys, the baby faces, look completely distraught and destroyed. The bad guys are on top of the world right now. I mean, it's a good story to launch your new year. And since we're talking about Stardom doing good and having a good year, well, this is how we were capping it off here in the Ryogoku Kokugan in the old sumo hall. 6,563 is the reported attendance, which is excellent. There aren't many promotions who were able to hit that level. Really weren't. Like if you take a look at 2025 and peek at who popped into Sumo Hall this year to hold shows. What am I talking about? Let's say if we do a few comparisons, like Marigold held their Grand Destiny show on October 26th. This was the show that was main evented by Io Sky, excuse me. I'll never be Io Sky and Mayu Iwatani. That was a big show for them. They stacked the show 3,450. So effectively, very close to half the attendance that Stardom did here. The King of Pro Wrestling show from New Japan Pro Wrestling in October 13th, 5,372 people. You had Noah Wrestle Odyssey, which was also in October. A lot of October shows. 3,617 people in attendance. The only show that drew more than Queendom this year was New Japan Sakura Genesis back in April, where they drew 6,640 people. So it's essentially the same. It's essentially the same amount of business. We're just like, not even we're like what? Not even 100 people. Not even 100. A difference of 100 people. There we go. I ended up saying it. Not even a difference of 100 people separating the two. So we're basically in the same spot. So, it's great news for Stardom, capping off an incredible year with some great business that they did throughout the year, and the end of the year with a show that did very good business for them as well. So, it's good to see that in 2025 there are promotions, especially in Japan, where the arrow is pointing up on every metric. So that's good news. And the one thing that you have to pin it on is creative. It's booking. It's how you decided to start things off. And there you go. It just as simple as that. So let's start reviewing the show. I think we're going to go in order of of appearance, essentially. Starting off with the pre-show tag team match, we had that to start with a couple of trainees. Ima Maishima and Kyoko Furusawa defeated Ane Kanaya and Matoi Hamabe. And well, listen, I don't have many thoughts here. I watched it. I thought they were fine. I thought, a little sloppy at times. I think they, trying to do things that didn't quite work out, and that's okay. I mean, they're starting off their careers. They're, whatever. It's okay. We're not looking at young lions getting into the ring just to beat the piss out of each other. The training that happens in Stardom is something else. So that's fine. Don't have much to add on that front. So the first match was actually rather eventful. It marked the return of Starlight Kid to Stardom, who had taken some time off just to handle some nagging injuries and issues that she had physically. Walker Stewart outright said, there wasn't anything specific that was reported. It was just like a bunch of things, a bunch of little things that were starting to pile up, and good for her. And, came back in a tag team with her Neo Genesis partner Azumi, defeating Shuri and Tomoka Inaba in a really fun opening match. I thought that was good. I thought it was a good, fast-paced opener that, delivered exactly what had to deliver. Basically just letting these top level women do what they got to do. I thought it was very energetic. And really did set the tone, I guess, for the evening. It got me into it. It was a great way to start things off, and I particularly liked the final stretch between SLK and Inaba. I thought that was a blast. That they were trading big moves and whatnot, and Starlight Kid got the win with the moonsault. So I think we're better off having Starlight Kid in active and wrestling in Stardom than the opposite. She looked good. Whatever was nagging seems to be okay. And I would give this match a 3.5 star point score. I thought this was pretty good. Quite good. Next was the Stardom Rumble. Again, I'm not a big Battle Royal fan. My eyes glaze over so very easily in these types of situations. So I have zero real notes about it. I did note that CMLL's Olympia was in it. And the thing I found funny, and I understand, okay, don't get me wrong here, okay? I understand that Olympia can't come in and just start throwing everyone around like it should, because, she's so much bigger and stronger than most of the 90-pound girls in the ring. But I understand why they can't do that, but she should be like, tossing them around and throwing them out of the ring with ease. Don't get me wrong. I understand why she can't do that, right? I always, here's another note. Like I said, I didn't have notes, but I do have a few notes. So I kind of lied. I mean, cancel me if you want. Lady C was a lot of fun in this match. I don't know. I have a bit of a soft spot for Lady C. I think she's good. She stands out in the Stardom crowd as well. And this was won by Rena, who had a pretty good final stretch with the last three wrestlers, who I believe were Miyu Amasaki and Hina. Yeah, there you go. The final stretch was okay. It was good. Don't get me wrong. At some point I'm like, let's get this over. And I understand why these rumbles are there, why these things are there. It's get everyone on the show. It's fine. I understand, but I could do without, entire sequences with Fujikin Death, for instance, right? Like I could do without it, but it's fine. All right. It's not that big a deal, but again, I don't raid Battle Royals because I don't know how to raid Battle Royals, because it is what it is. So let's move on. Let's get to a super duper fun match. Maika, Xena, Hanako, and Megan Bayne taking on Suzu Suzuki, Bozilla, Itsuki Aoki, and Rina Yamashita. They went to a double countout in I guess the best way. I guess the best way I could call it is that this was a party match. You know, I thought that I thought the exchanges were fun. Maika being back in the mix as well is really interesting. Like, she was part of those who, you know, wants to rid Stardom of the darkness of hate. So you know, this you know, we're not fighting hate here, but you know, like, she's still part of that group. Look, this was a blast. This was an absolute blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the exchanges between Megan Bayne and Bozilla. I thought that was a lot of fun, especially when they started throwing each other around. I'm like, holy smokes, brother. You know, Megan Bayne, she belly to belly overheads Bozilla, right? And I'm like, oh wow, okay, like this is really cool. There's something about Megan Bayne and Stardom that just is different. It just doesn't, as the kids say, it doesn't hit the same as when she's in AEW. There's something different about it. And even Megan Bayne's doing Frankensteiners on Bozilla, and Bozilla's did an avalanche sack of shit. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I could watch 5 more minutes of this, you know. And here's the thing: is like, if ever this match gets booked, Bozilla and Megan Bayne, I'm just throwing this out there. If this match ever gets booked, regardless, wherever it is, right? Stardom, which is plausible, right? AEW, wherever. This match should not go over 10 minutes. This should be a sprint of 2 powerhouses just dropping each other with huge moves until one of them two can't get up anymore. That's what it should be. And it just should be a sprint of these moves. A true test of cardio and strength. You know, basically put your CrossFit to the test. Essentially, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'd like. That's what I'd want out of this type of setup. I also enjoyed the Suzuki and Maika exchanges as well that led to the finish. That was a bit of a callback to their past world title matches. This was tremendous. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it all breaks down, gets really chaotic, and everyone ends up on the floor, and everyone ends up getting counted out. I blame Megan Bayne for diving onto everyone at like 15 at the 15 count or something like that. Or I'm like, no, don't do it. No one's going to be able to get back up. And I was correct. Anyway, I thought this was good. Very, very good. I gave it, very good. 3.5 stars is where I'd place it. I enjoyed that one tremendously. Hazuki defeated Fuwa-chan. The big story, one of the big stories of the show here was Fuwa-chan doing her as they penned it re-debut in Stardom. She had wrestled a little bit in the past for Stardom, and now she circled back here. She had disappeared for a while. Look, obviously I don't hang out on Japanese social media. Yeah, there might be a little bit of a language barrier there. But Fuwa-chan, she's for those of you who don't know, she's a comedian and a social media star / influencer. And a couple of years ago or a year ago, something like 18 months ago, I don't know what the timeline, I don't remember what the timeline is exactly. She got into a bit of a back and forth with another Japanese comedian, where Fuwa-chan then proceeded to tell the other comedian that she wasn't funny and that she should KYS, and that led to a ton of backlash. And apparently she went dark on social media. She stepped away from all the controversy, and then she came back, apologized, and now she wants to get back into wrestling, get back to working with Stardom. Like, everything was put on the back burner, so this is why they're calling it the re-debut. From what I understand from people that that are really into the Japanese scene a lot more, I asked the question, well, is this more like a redemption tour where she just wants to, get exposure, get herself seen in positive environments where people are going to like her, so as to sort of rehabilitate her image? And I was told no, like from everything that we gather, everything that she said, she is truly committed to becoming a pro wrestler, and she really wants to. She really wants to do her best to achieve these levels. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and that's something I can get behind if she really wants to commit to being a pro wrestler. And she wrestled Hazuki here, who is someone who's been training her, and Hazuki is terrific, and I really like Hazuki. And you know what, like Fuwa-chan, I find she has great instincts. She doesn't look out of place. From what I've been told, I'm not super familiar with the previous work that she did in Stardom, but again, these same people were telling me, that she debuted some new offense in this match, and it looked good. It was clean. And the audience seemed to be in it as well. I found the live crowd to be into her I guess her underdog, come from behind story that she was telling. I thought she was very good, and Hazuki is very good, so she can, whatever things were lacking, well, Hazuki's got your back. She's terrific. Now flying solo, unaffiliated to any unit, the Wild Heart Hazuki, who at first is just like straight up no selling Fuwa-chan's offense. Fuwa-chan is there, landing drop kicks, and Hazuki is like, she's practically doing one of these, right? Just brushing it off her shoulder. Yeah, I mean, there's this sequence that Fuwa-chan does where she lands a superplex, and then continues with the Shining Wizard. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, pretty good. And then follows up with the German suplex, which I thought was terrific. But Hazuki ends the match with the top rope senton that looks absolutely like it sucks so much to take. Like, it looks so bad. It looks like the worst senton to take ever. Kind of like how most sentons, I guess, like the way you're supposed to hit sentons, you're supposed to hit with more of your upper back, right? So basically you land more on your ass when you're doing it, and your upper back is connecting with your opponent, with your prone opponent, as opposed to what Hazuki does, where she's just like, nah, eat my entire back. Which looks just completely awful. I'd give this 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was great. I thought this was a tremendous match. And I'm excited to see what Fuwa-chan does next. There's legitimate upside to this. And even one of my pals was speculating, considering that she has some form of some sort of appeal outside of professional wrestling circles. There's speculation that they might run a Fuwa-chan Saya Kamatani match down the road. I mean, I guess it's a good promotional measure. I don't see the appeal personally. That's just me. I would much rather see Sari and kick the shit out of Saya Kamatani. But look, that's just me, right? Speaking of Sari, she defeated Natsupoi in a typical brutal, vicious, hard-hitting Sari style match. What else is there to say? And I love the finish to this match, where Sari is just like, she's stomping on this girl, just driving her feet deep into her chest and into her stomach, tossing her around, just completely savaging her. And I love the finish where Sari is just like, she's just dropping uranagis, right? And not the uranagi, the pro wrestling uranagi, right? The rock bottom, not that kind of uranagi. Like a uranagi, like a judo throw uranagi, right? And she's just one after the other. I think 4 or 5, she hit something to that effect. And Natsupoi just couldn't take it. She was just like, no, I'm dead. Nah, I'm just getting thrown around way too much. I like this match a lot. I want like, this is to me, 3 3/4 star match. I fucking love Sari. I could watch this wrestler, beat people up all day. I think she's terrific. Here's my confession. I've never been a big fan of Natsupoi, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I can recognize that she's very talented, that she knows what she's doing. I'm not here trying to say that it's a mystery to me why she ever got pushed or something. No, she's got the goods. She knows what she's doing. But myself, there's never been a connection. And in fact, I've always kind of felt like watching a Natsupoi match feels like I'm sitting through something, where I'm, kind of like when you go to church when you're a kid, or at least me, my experience. How about, but probably some of you relate. You get taken to church and it's Sunday morning, and it's a beautiful bright sunny day outside, and all you want to do is go play kickball with your pals, or ride your bike. Instead, you're sitting through a thing, which is fine ultimately. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just you're like, I'm not compelled by sitting here and listening to this old man in a robe talk to me about old stories. I'm not into, and it's the same type of vibe that I get where I'm like, it's fine and I'll watch it, but I could be watching something. And that's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. But I can recognize that Natsupoi is very good. She just doesn't mesh with me. She just doesn't connect. And I had proof of that again in this match. A lot of times when I see her, she's in tag team situations or multi-person situations. So I'm like, okay, well, it's not as prevalent to me. But when she's in a singles match, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid that, So, at the start of the review, I was saying, a lot. I feel this was a good show that under delivered, right? And this was the first match that, to me, under delivered. I was expecting something much better out of these two. Now, look, I'm going to give this match, if I'm scoring this match, and I am, I'd give it 3 3/4 stars. But I was expecting something. I was expecting excellent. I was expecting excellence out of this match. And am I wrong to expect that out of Sari, who is absolutely one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth right now, and Natsupoi, who is a great pro wrestler in her own right? Should I expect anything else than excellence? No. I think it is a perfectly reasonable expectation for me to sit down and be like, okay, I am ready to get my mind blown here. And that's not what happened. Is part of the story the fact that Natsupoi, because Walker was putting it over quite a bit, is part of the story the fact that Natsupoi is kind of lost, Cosmic Angels having lost Tom. Is this a situation where she feels like she's disconnected, she's lost her passion? Like he's mentioned this, right? He being Walker, he mentioned it that, she's felt dejected, lost her passion for pro wrestling and whatnot. And at some point you're like, well, how much is this storytelling? How much is this shoot? How much is it of it? Is it like a concoction that blends both? because I didn't feel the fire, and the idea here was that Sari wanted to get that fire, wanted to light that fire under Natsupoi, and I don't think she succeeded. Yeah, and I don't know how much it is a storytelling element more so than something that actually did happen. That Poi just is like, you know what, right now I'm kind of bored. I'm kind of bored with pro wrestling. It didn't live up to my expectations. Despite the fact it being a great match that I really, really liked, it didn't live up to my expectations. And I think that's fair. That's where I stand on it. So I'd give it 3 3/4, but this was a match that I was fully expecting, something bigger, better. And I mean, you can continue the story where, the Cosmic Angels are in disarray and they need to recenter and find themselves again. So maybe this will all lead to a big redemption year in 2026. Maybe 2026 is the year that the light returns to Stardom, in whatever corny way you want to put it. Maybe that's what they're gunning for. I've seen some speculation that maybe the rematch will happen at Sari's anniversary show. And then I'd have to watch another Natsupoi singles match. I'd have to just, and then wait for communion at the end. Anywho, Goddess of Stardom Championship is the next match we're going to talk about, where Ruaka Natsuko Tora, aka BMI 2000, which, by the way, I don't know if I feel like I've mentioned it, but if I haven't, here we go. It is the best fucking name for a tag team of two big hosses I have ever heard. It is so good. BMI 2000, come on, it's great. They took on the Cosmic Angels duo of Sayaka Kurara and Aya Sakura, who lost. Were not able to get the job done. I'm giving this match the old gentleman's 3. This was really the worst match of the show. Again, not a disaster by any sense of the imagination, but it is not my favorite match, and I'm giving it the old 3 because I think there was crowd investment into this one. I think there was good enough work, but boy, oh boy, these two teams couldn't have felt more like they were in completely different cities, trying their best to reach the same destination, but some of them, some of them were on the train, some of them were in cars, some of them were on their bike. It's like, they just couldn't make it because of multiple reasons. Anyway, look, I really don't have many notes here. I thought Aya Sakura looked good, particularly good in this match. I thought she got a lot of shine, but and I know that Ruaka and Tora aren't exactly work rate beasts, and I know that there's a lot of people who don't particularly care for them. I thought they were. I don't have a problem with them. It's not even that. It's just, I thought they just, no one seemed to be able to get on the same page. And there's just enough stuff that worked for me to not completely say this was a 3, a flat 3, and we'll move on. But another win by the Hate group once again. Their second big win of the night. Forgot to mention Rena winning the Battle Royal earlier on was Hate's first win of the night. So Hate picks up their second win at this point. Then we get into the business end of the show. We get the Wonder of Stardom Championship, where Konami successfully retained her title by defeating Saya Ida, who is a wrestler that I have a soft spot for. I've always enjoyed Wingori. I think they're terrific, and I've again always had a soft spot for Ida, who is just this little shit brick house. I think she's terrific, and I was very, very excited to see her in this position here. Konami, of course, the champion, representing Hate once again. I thought this was a blast. I thought this was so good. And despite the fact that that Konami seemed to be mostly in control here, very precise with the offense that she was using. She really took the time to cut apart Ida in very, very vicious, savage ways. Saya Ida continued to show like her fire, her heart. And if anything, she kind of won up in this match. I think her performance was absolutely phenomenal. And the story they were telling on top of this, like this was Konami's first defense, but this was also Ida's first singles title challenge as well for a major title, at least in Stardom. So there was a lot of investment, a lot of personal investment and emotion that was put into this match. And Konami, like I said, going after Ida with precision, you know, like going for the arm, like she like as far as game plans go, this one was executed to perfection. She just picked Ida's arm apart, you know, knowing full well, being a lot more power based. If you took out the arm, if you got rid of that, that was the best thing that you could do to make sure that Ida stays down. And Ida did a great babyface job as well, having these great little hope spots and then finally mounting the comeback. Ida had some great moves. She did like a spinning slam, an avalanche spinning slam. She hit a flying lariat, set Konami up for a muscle buster. Konami got out of it, but then immediately ate a lariat on top of that, a brain buster. And I'm going to tell you, that roundhouse kick followed by the punt by Konami, holy shit. That was some vicious strikes right there. That all led to Ida getting locked up in a submission and she tapped. But what a fantastic match. I thought this was the 4 stars. This was like the first match of the evening where I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it, right? We were on the cusp for most of the evening, but then like this one comes in and you're like, okay, oh, all right. I'm all set up for the main event where Saya Kamitani successfully retained the World of Stardom Championship against Saori Anou. I mean, this was the absolute like final statement in this story about the Cosmic Angels and whatnot, where you have Anou coming out there as the final representative, the person who's tasked to knock Kamitani down a few notches, but it wasn't going to happen. Like, it wasn't going to happen. I'm sorry to say. Like, and look, Anou is a wrestler that has grown on me over the years, and particularly this year, I would say that I've truly become a fan of her work. I think, maybe even late last year. Anyway, it doesn't matter exactly, but it's fairly recent. Like my true appreciation for her work. But look, we're in a situation right now in Stardom where as long as Kamitani is drawing and has this perception from the audience that she's the top woman of the company, we're not dropping titles anytime soon. I don't think, right? So to me, like out the gate, there's that level of danger that I don't feel anymore. There's that level that I don't feel at all. So, and you all know how it is when you start watching a pro wrestling match where you feel the finish is determined, right? Like even before it starts, like there's no way X is beating Y, right? This is how I felt. And that sort of, it does contribute to a degree of taking you out of the match. So then it really behooves the wrestlers to create a journey that will be so compelling that you won't mind the destination, or that, you know, that the journey will overshadow whatever preordained finish you saw coming, type of situation. And in this case here, in this particular case here, I thought the journey was great, but under-delivered. I was expecting a lot more out of this match. And, you know, is it maybe Anou is maybe not exactly, is she not exactly ready for tip-top spots like this, for being like the the centerpiece, right? It could, like she wrestled a solid match, but there was something just wasn't there. Is it in her, her presentation overall? She's her deal is that she's a nice queen. She's aloof, that's kind of her thing. Is that part of her presentation that maybe is keeping her from getting over that line? Maybe. Is Kamitani just does she completely outshine her opponents? Well, I mean, there is a thing to be said where Kamitani should not dial back her God-given attributes to accommodate her opponent. It should be more along the lines of, well, I'm going to raise my game so that I can be perceived on that level as well as on the same level of Kamitani. But even despite that, I thought the match was, like I said, like, here's the weird thing is that I'm going to be bitching, or it sounds like I'm bitching about a 4-star match. Like this is the wildest part of my of this review when I was putting it together. I'm like, I mean, these are going to be my talking points, and it's bizarre. I'm going to be bummed out about a 4-star match, if only because I was expecting better. I was expecting a much higher range match here. I thought Anu was going to pull out stuff here that she was going to elevate how great she is to an entirely different level. I thought that Kamitani was just going to be the best version of Saya Kamitani we've seen. And that just didn't happen, right? I guess the story again that we're telling is that the specter of Tom Nakano is still very, very present in the minds and hearts of the cosmic angels. And until they can overcome that, well, the hate will continue to dominate, and Saya is going to stay on top of the company. And look, I loved how this match started. It started off really, really quickly. Started with some fast exchanges to the point where Saya's got him. Nope. Saya then rolls out of the ring and starts to stall. She's not going to work a fast-paced Sariano match, and I appreciate that. That's good. That's good heel work. And I was like, all right, cool. We're establishing some foundations. This is good stuff. But then she gets in control. She being Saya gets in control and even starts dragging Anu around with the chain, which is very, very reminiscent of what she did with Tom Nakano. And even, there's flashbacks of hanging her over the rafters and whatnot, and instead throws her down some stairs. But then Anu gets her revenge by actually hanging her over the turnbuckles when they eventually get back to the ring. So she was able to get her, a little payback for that. And Anu gets this great, sequence of events where she's just waiting for Kamitani to attack her. And she's always she always has a counter. She's always got something, and she's reversing moves into submissions. She's so good. And she has such a great snap to what she does. Anu is she's a pleasure to watch because she has this snap, this little extra little fierceness to everything she does, which makes her really truly a delight to watch. And then we get German suplexes, we get a Frankensteiner by Kamitani, and we get Anu who does one herself. They're doing open hand strikes. We get a Star Crusher by Kamitani, but she's unable to put Anu away on that one. Dragon suplex with bridge by Anu, and a double wrist lock German as well, which was tremendous. Kicks by Kamitani and a flurry of offense. Another Star Crusher by Kamitani, who fights back, but Kamitani lands a third Star Crusher, and that finally puts Anu away. So the sweep for Hate at Queendom, who just ended up picking up all the titles. And look, it's an excellent match. I recommend you going out to watch it. It's a good time. I'd recommend watching the top 2 matches. If you want to throw in the Serene match because you're like me and you like to you like to watch Suri just beat the piss out of people. Well, there's the third match there. But back to the main event. Great, excellent match. It's just it didn't have it under delivered because I was expecting these two women to really lay everything out there, especially considering this is like the biggest show of the year for Stardom. I don't know. You can blame it on me. It's like, but I calls them as I sees them, and it's an excellent match that deserves to be better. That's essentially it. That's essentially it. But again, like if they're setting everything up for, if this is the story that they're going to be telling over the next few months, over 2026, well, they did a good job at it. I mean, the baby faces are all seemingly done with Hate running around doing nonsense, but the message that Hate ended up sending here is like, look, not only do we dominate this and we own essentially Stardom, but we beat all your heroes clean as a sheet, decisively. No one can come and bitch at us that we use the chair, we use the luggage, or the bins or whatever. No one can bitch that we screw jobbed our way to victories. Not only do we say we're the most dominant faction, we just proved it on the biggest show of the year, the last show of the year for Stardom. And 2026 is starting and everything is on our side. So it's a good theme. It's a good story. It's interesting. And it's a good show. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to have the impression, I don't want to give the impression that I didn't like the show. I like the show. Oh, and Starlight Kid came out at the end, seemingly setting herself up as Kamitani's next challenger, which I am super into. Now that is a match where you're like, that finish isn't as predictable. This is a finish where you're like, where you can't quite put your finger on, where there's arguments for both sides. Maybe you favor more one side than the other, but there are clear arguments where you could go, well, this might actually happen, so on and so forth. So, so listen, like I said, and I keep hammering home, I think the main takeaway from this show was the story of Hate's dominance, how the Cosmic Angels are in disrepair. Micah coming back, might also provide some light because she's on a war path to spread the light. But Hate just seems incredibly strong, incredibly dominant, decisive, clear wins, not sneak wins, not fluke wins, not cheating wins, just absolutely 100% strong wins up and down the card on everywhere. So that's where Stardom is at as we close out the year and the path that they're going to be on to begin 2026. And a very good show to wrap up the year with some excellent matches. I mean, it's not a bad show. Far from it. I don't want to give you the impression that I didn't like it. I liked it a lot. I really did. Just fell a little short of my expectations. Those are my thoughts.